And hello, my name is Martin, and today what we're going to be doing is looking at, before I get too far into cleaning up my visitors area, I wanted to show you guys what I had actually done with the outside area. So you can kind of see that there's a tree that's already up there, a couple of trees. So this is the area that I built prior to going in and creating the area inside, and you can see that I have grass, I have rocks, I have a couple of trees. I've created this kind of like old fence thing, and I have an area where there's like a pond and a little waterfall and a couple of trees and again some more rocks. What I basically did to create this is, if I jump out real quick, I do have dynamic grass light. I do have another one called industrial blade grassland, and I have another one which is the Zen garden and the water materials. So the rocks, if you look, you can type in the word rocks and you should be able to see different types of rocks. Some of them will come in groups, some of them are individual. So if I click on that, that's a group of rocks, that's an individual rock. And what I basically did was I created like a border using the rocks. Because of the way that the grass is, I used a square box. So I grabbed a box and flattened it out, and you can see that the box is actually down here as a Z. The Z-axis is 1, and then I spread the box throughout the length of the garden area, and so to make that not look like it was just a square patch of grass, to make it look a little bit more natural, I then went and looked for things like grass. So I typed in grass, and you'll see that in some of these you'll find things like this, which I was able to just grab and kind of throw over there. And with that, well, there's compilers now, so we'll see what happens with this. And so we were able to just grab random grass like this and move it over, and I'm trying to see if I can't find the ones that I used from earlier. Oh, this might be it. Blowing grass. There we go. So that's kind of interesting. Let's move this guy over here, and let's move it in the corner over there, like maybe between a couple of rocks. Let's select something else so it's not the last thing that was selected, and you'll see that I now have another plant. So by typing in grass, or by typing in plants, or by typing in tree, I was able to find different things that are available inside of the packs that I had purchased or that I had downloaded for free. There's a thing of flowers. Let's drop those. Oops, let's not do that. It looked like that was going to put it all over the bottom floor. That interesting looking tree came from here. I do have trees that are like in groups. I have trees that are as individuals. I have tree stumps. There's a group of trees in a cluster. So let's, just for fun, grab that cluster, and we can see that it's the same cluster that I have back there. Now, for fun, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to push play and try to go through this cluster of trees, and you'll see that I cannot. And the reason why is because that cluster of trees is set up as a group, and if I was to click on it, the collision settings on that group right now, and we'll get more into collision settings later, but right now it says default. I'm going to say no collisions, and what that's going to allow me to do is walk through that cluster of trees where I could not walk through that cluster of trees before. So if you find something that you can't walk through that you feel like you should be able to walk through, like that cluster of trees, remember to select the object, scroll down in its details panel until you find its collision settings, and then put in there no collisions. Now, having done that, I should now also be able to walk right through the tree trunk. You know, but give or take, most people are going to be walking through that pretty fast, and I will actually show you another way later to be able to separate those trees and create your own collision settings that are a little bit more rugged and not quite so bold where you couldn't just walk between the whole thing. Alright, so since I don't need those trees, I'm actually going to select them and delete them. And now the other thing would be the waterfall. There's a couple of things that are happening there in the water set that I have. So if I go back to content and get rid of the word tree, most of this was in the water text, the water materials. So if I go look at meshes, I have a cliff, which is what I'm using for the waterfall itself. And there is a waterfall base, which is a static mesh that I've put over it. There's also a particle system down here at the bottom, which came from one of the other sets, and I believe that was actually probably came from, there it is, from the particle system. So there is water and splash. So let me actually put splash on there and see if we can't get something interesting. And of course we'll have to wait for the builders, for the shaders to finish. And as soon as that happens, let's see if we get anything that looks more or less like splashing. Let's move it up. And you can kind of see the graphic there. Let's kind of turn that around a little bit, maybe about 180 degrees. And let's push that closer to where the waterfall is happening. And if we want to, let's make that just a little bit bigger. Let's pull it out this way so you can see more of the splashing happening. Okay, and so now we've added quite a few things. The flowers were the same way. I typed in flowers and I looked for flowers, and those flowers were animated already. So they're kind of blowing around in the leaves, in the wind. So now that if I push play and I go over, you'll see a lot of the same things that I've done. You'll see the plant that I just added. You'll see the grass that's kind of, I might need to move that rock a little bit so I don't see that nice sharp line. That's kind of what I'm trying to avoid. If I come this way, we'll see the particle system with the splashing of the water. That seems quite a bit big, so let's actually grab that splashing and move it down a little bit. And at this point it probably doesn't need to be that big, so let's make the splashing a little bit smaller so it's more isolated. Push play again, and let's see what that looks like. Okay, that looks a little bit better. It doesn't look like over the top, and it doesn't look like things have been stretched or anyway. Alright, so real quick, the only other thing that I did was I created kind of a little bit of a pool area, and this was done by using a geometry just like we did with the windows. I cut out a little bit of space from the floor. Remember that the floor is only, I think it's in my case it might only be 100 meters deep, or 100 points deep, so I didn't cut or make it too deep. And then as far as the top, I went and I grabbed a basic plane, put the plane there, and then with the water materials went into materials and found, I believe it is the M Water Clean Cheaper. So there's one of these in here that's called M Water Clean Cheaper. There it is. And you'll see that's got a little bit of movement, which is exactly what I wanted. I wanted clear water to match the clear water that's going over the falls, and from there just have a little bit of movement in that area. And again, what I did was, as far as the height, I put the height even with, not above or even with the rocks, and since the rocks are going all the way around the outer edge and the rocks are higher than the edge of the water as it's moving up and down, we actually don't see the edge of that. So if we were to go and push play and go over and see what we've done, we can see that the water looks natural, that it doesn't look like it's going above the edge of the rocks. that everything looks pretty legit there, like it looks the way it should if it was, you know, to a degree of realism, right? Okay. All right, so that's what I did with the outside area there. I hope you enjoyed that tutorial. If you have any questions, ask me in class, but that has given me the ability to be able to have a nice little outdoor area. And again, since I do have a window here, if I was to look through, I have kind of a cool looking garden to look at. So, and you know what, I might even drop that window just a little bit more. Let's do it there, so then that way we can really see from the inside what that looks like. One more time. Very cool. So we've got this kind of neat looking outside area. Oh, that I might fix a little bit, move it over just a tad so it's not actually inside the building. So let's grab that, put the actual, this material, or that mesh I should say, scoot that over just a little bit and check that it's not showing up anymore on the side. Okay, no longer on the inside. Might need to move a little bit of that water. I can see some of the water on one of the little rotations there. It actually looked like it was dripping on the inside. So little details that you can work out as you walk around the area and you see different things. Different things will pop out to you. So continue to keep, decorating the outside with a lot of the different materials that you have gathered uh, from the Epic Games launcher, and we'll see you in the next tutorial. Okay, thank you very much. Bye bye.